Today, my friends, we are back, and thank you for checking in. This is a special episode I put together when I was thinking about the new Superman film, which is a big topic right now. And in fact, fair warning, coming in July, I am going to have a month of Superman. There's nothing else I'll be discussing but Superman. Okay, when you have a collection, collectors love to show off their comics, okay? And talk about what they have and what they mean to them. So I did that. I'll be doing that, and get ready for that in July. But until then, okay, we want to talk about Superman. So what I'm doing today is I'm talking about 3 comic books from the 60s that are tied in together, and current comic books. I'm talking about, for you current people, I'm talking about Absolute Superman 1, 2, and 3. All right, this is the current one of the current Superman series on the market. It is a standalone series from the regular Superman title, which incidentally has been very good lately, and so has Action Comics. I'm going to talk about these in comparison to a couple of favorites from the 60s. Superman number 181, which features, as you can see, the Superman of 2965, who is Clark Kent. And that character was continued in Action Comics 338 the following year, 1966, and 339, where they finished up the storyline. So taken together, these 3 comics make up a story, a standalone. And this one came across, it was stunning to us, to have this. Artwork by Kurt Swan and George Klein, and it's cover dated November of 65, Superman number 181, 12 cents. Now, it's a very short story. It is 8 pages long. The story featuring Superman of 2965, the descendant, so they've continued the descendancy. 1,000 years later, he is still descended from Kal-El and Clark Kent and all that, and Lois Lane, obviously. But they only needed 8 pages to do it. They do introduce his arch enemy without giving a backstory. His arch enemy is Muto. We'll see what Muto looks like shortly. So in 8 pages, with this fantastic artwork, they introduced, and I'm going to have a scan of the cover page and a couple of things come up. In this story, Superman of the future is deputized by the Federation of Planets. This particular character was written by, basically created by Edmund Hamilton, who was one of the Golden Age premier writers of science fiction. He was born in 1904, he died in 1977. So he makes Superman of the future, he creates the Superman of the future character, introduces him and tells about him in 8 swift pages, and you still get the backup stories in here. You still get a Superman story, which is called The Secret of the New Supergirl, and then you have the Super Scoops of Morna Vine. You have 2 other Superman stories in here. I don't know if they didn't do a Supergirl in this one, but they did a different version of Supergirl. Anyways, you get 3 stories in here, about 23, 24 pages. 8 pages of which feature the cover, which, I remember this well. Everybody was talking about the new Superman, 2965. Is he going to get his own book? That's how we were back then. All right, so we'll start here, and it's really good. The only difference is, and I'll show you a scan, Kurt Swan drew him. He looks just the same as he always did, but he gave him bangs, like Beatles bangs coming down, instead of the curl. Okay, a little different. The setup here is also that Superman has different powers in the future. He's no longer vulnerable to kryptonite. So he is immune to kryptonite, but his weakness is water. He can't go swimming in the ocean. He would drown. This is a little different take on that. But it's key to understand that these changes were immensely popular during the period. And indeed, in the following year, then we have Action Comics, 1966, 338, and we have him on the cover again. Notice his bangs, and I'll have a scan of this coming up. With Muto. Muto is this Superman's arch enemy. And they do this story, three stories in here again. They do this story in, 13 pages or something? Let me see, I wrote it down. 13 pages, you get Superman of the Future against Muto. And then you also have, and look at, here's a really good splash page here with Muto, so you can see him. So that's the lead-off story. Then you get the second story is a Supergirl story. You're getting all of this for 12 cents. And I know inflation, and everybody says that's the way it is. I'm not making a comment about that. I'm just pointing it out that what they could do storytelling-wise with this is much different than what they're handling today. So you basically have two stories in here. You have the Superman of the Future against Muto, Part 1, technically Part 2, because the first appearance was just an introductory moment for us to get to know him. And then he comes back in 338, and then the following month, Superman of the Future comes back in issue 339, and Muto is back with the final tale with Superman, and in this one they have a big fight. Of course they would, with Curt Swan doing fantastic artwork, and it's quite lovely. Supergirl, the Supergirl is a backup feature in Action Comics by now, with artwork by the great Jim Mooney, I do believe. And in this one, she meets Brainiac in the backup story, Supergirl and Brainiac. So this is kind of a cool issue, and it wrapped up the Clark Kent Superman of the Future storyline against Muto. So they did it with 3 issues. I don't know. I don't remember. I'd have to look it up. I guess I should have. I don't recall seeing that this Superman ever came back again. You would have thought that with the Crisis on Infinite Earths, they would have done something. Maybe not. But this is the same family lineage. So he is descended from Kal-El and Lois Lane 1,000 years from now. Superman 2965. And, you know, it was, who knows, maybe they'll do it again. So the reason I'm pointing this out is because you have really short amount of time. Action Comics 338 was 13 pages of the Future Superman, and the following issue, Action 339, was only 12 pages. So in all of this work they did, they have a little more than a regular issue today to introduce a very memorable character in the Superman legacy, and a very memorable villain, Muto. So fantastic material in 3 issues. This is what we used to get. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying this is a criticism of what's going on now, because in fact, I've been reading Superman comics, and guess what? I really like Absolute Superman. That's why I'm doing this. I'll bet you're shocked to hear that. So Absolute Superman takes a different approach, obviously. This is a monthly series, and it tells a different version of Superman's origin. Now, they used to do these as imaginary stories, and if you look at the Superman in Action Comics from the 60s, you see a lot of imaginary stories involving Jor-El on Krypton, and Superman meeting him and traveling through time and all this. Those were all great issues, but those were often billed as an imaginary tale. The death of Superman, the first 2 times he died, and I have those issues here, they were billed as imaginary stories. This is kind of being promoted that way, but you know, DC Comics doesn't have a really good editorial directive right now, but they do try, and I'm giving them credit for trying, because I think that this is excellent for various reasons I'll describe. What they're not doing right is they're not marketing this correctly, but that's normal for the comic book industry in this era. They just don't know what to do. They're saying they're reimagining Superman for a new audience. Okay, well, it's basically an imaginary story then. You know, so whatever. Or is it a multiverse story? They haven't defined that, and therein lies their first mistake. But it's early yet. They've only done 3 issues that I have here. and we'll see. This is currently a monthly issue. So the premise is really quite simple. Written by Jason Aaron, who is an excellent writer, by the way. Superb artwork by Rafa Sandoval, and coloring by Ulysses Areola. I hope I pronounced all of that correctly. And I really, really enjoyed these first 3 issues. The artwork is pretty good. The coloring is actually pretty good for considering the industry uses a digital palette. The coloring is helping create the depth that you need. So overall, I'm giving this a big thumbs up. I don't do ratings. I just like it. Thumbs up. I like it. I'm buying it. Absolute Superman is excellent, and so was number 2. And we're getting a story here where we're on Krypton, and we're getting the backstory where Superman is going to come to Earth as an adult. So there's a change up here, and his powers are going to be a little different, and the setup's going to be a little different. It doesn't seem like we're going to have the Kents involved. First and foremost, comic books are a visual medium, and the visuals are superb. Rafa Sandoval is an excellent artist and puts together really good pages. So the action is fantastic, and kudos to the colorist too. What they haven't done is fully explain where this is going yet. That's my concern. I think this should be a 12-issue miniseries and then put it in a paperback, and we're set to go, a one-shot deal. I have a feeling this is going to tie into the multiverse or something, which, and therein it's going to get muddy. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope they keep the quality high and they back out when they need to. This isn't the Superman origin of the guy today. This is an alternate imagining of some type yet to be fully explained. All right, so number 2, and then number 3. Yes, we have Crypto. Crypto is there. So they get points for me when you get Crypto in a story, okay? Again, I really like the artwork. I really like the world building, visually the world building that Jason Aaron and Sandoval are putting together here is absolutely fantastic. Visually and with the writing, it's really good stuff. And I don't say that a lot about a lot of modern comics, but I'm giving them credit here because I think that they're taking part of that legacy and they're doing what they did here. They're adding a twist to it, and I think that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. They're not, and they're doing what they did here. They're creating a different version of Superman, uniquely and cleanly and clearly for another audience. What we don't know is where this is going to go. We know where this went. They created 3 very well remembered and revered comic books thanks to the writer Edmund Hamilton, a great writer from the golden age of science fiction. And they created those 3 comics, and they've stood the test of time. And then we have this going on. So I'm doing comparison contrast. I think it's great. I think this was great in its way for the time period, and I think this is certainly great. I'm really enjoying. That's number 3. I'm sorry. Here's number 2, and then here's number 3 of this. So good work on the part of the creative team over at DC Comics with Absolute Superman. I understand from my good friend at the comic shop that this is a hot book right now. It might be the hottest book DC has put out in years because people are really embracing the unique storytelling, fantastic artwork, understandable clean artwork with a understandable clean story. A couple of things that they're doing, they're hinting at some things happening on Earth in present time that we don't understand yet how that relates to the tale if he's coming to Earth as an adult. Either a teen or a young man. That is yet to be determined. I don't know how that's going to play out. And I try not to look into it too much. But right now, if you're interested in Superman comics at all and you haven't read them in a while, pick up Absolute Superman. This went out of print, and so they reprinted it, another edition with a different cover. I don't have that. I have 2 of these, and I'll buy it. I have the first 3. By the time, I don't know, within another month, we'll have number 4. I will probably continue to review this without going into the remember when aspect of my collection, because I like to do that, can't help myself, guys. But again, this was great. A different version of Superman. They did it in the future. Not really an imaginary tale, but they did it, and it worked. And all of us from that era remember this. And now Absolute Superman comes along. And there have been so many reimaginings of Superman. Most of them stunk after Julius Schwartz retired. This was, by the way, Mort Weisinger was the editor during this period. So, to summarize this, I've been critical of DC Comics and the way they handle these iconic characters. Here's a reimagining that's set to the side. It's not interfering with the current plot line of the Superman tale, and they've created something unique and exciting and beautifully done. Really beautiful artwork in here. I really enjoyed this. So get going there, pilgrims. Get yourself to a comic shop and pick up Absolute Superman. Until next time, my friends, put your capes on. Stay well. Stay happy. Feed your brain. Read a book.